quiet town of Arvada, Colorado, stood the foreboding structure of the Ridge Home Asylum. Built in 1912, it was intended to be a place of refuge for the mentally ill, a sanctuary where they could receive care and treatment. However, as the years passed, it became clear that the asylum was anything but a haven. The dark history of the Ridge Home Asylum was shrouded in tales of cruelty and neglect. Patients were subjected to inhumane treatment, their cries for help falling on deaf ears. Many were not even mentally ill, but simply abandoned by their families, left to languish in the shadows of the asylum's walls. As the mistreatment of individuals within the asylum became increasingly known, whispers of its horrors spread throughout the town. Yet, despite the outcry, the authorities turned a blind eye, and the suffering of the patients continued unabated. But in 2004, the doors of the Ridge Home Asylum were finally closed for good. The building was demolished, its dark past buried beneath the rubble, or so it seemed. For even now, long after its demolition, the whispers of the asylum's tortured souls linger on the wind, a haunting reminder of the horrors that once took place within its walls. Years after the Ridge Home Asylum's closure, rumors continued to swirl about the haunted remnants of its existence. Curious thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts alike ventured to the abandoned grounds, drawn by the allure of its dark history. As they stepped through the overgrown weeds and decaying remnants of the asylum's once imposing facade, an eerie silence enveloped them. But it was not long before the stillness was shattered by whispers carried on the wind, echoes of the past that refused to be forgotten. Visitors reported hearing disembodied voices and phantom footsteps echoing through the empty corridors, as if the tortured souls of the asylum's former inhabitants still wandered the halls in search of peace. Shadows danced in the flickering light, their movements unnerving and unsettling to those who dared to venture into the darkness. Despite the growing sense of unease that settled over them, the allure of the abandoned asylum proved too strong to resist. They pressed on, their hearts pounding in their chests as they delved deeper into the bowels of the building, each step bringing them closer to the truth behind its haunted legacy. As the intrepid explorers ventured further into the dilapidated asylum, they found themselves drawn to a particular corridor known among locals as the Hall of Whispers. Legend had it that this hallway was the epicenter of paranormal activity, where the spirits of the asylum's tormented patients were said to roam most freely. With trepidation gnawing at their insides, they stepped cautiously into the dimly lit corridor, their senses on high alert for any sign of supernatural presence. The air grew heavy with the weight of unseen eyes watching their every move, and a chill crept down their spines as they listened for the whispered voices that echoed through the darkness. Suddenly, a soft murmur filled the air, barely audible yet unmistakably present. It seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves, a haunting chorus of anguish and despair that sent shivers racing down their spines. As they pressed onward, the whispers grew louder, their words becoming clearer with each passing moment. They spoke of pain and suffering, of lives cut short, and souls left to wander in eternal torment. It was a symphony of sorrow, a lament for the forgotten and forsaken who had once called the asylum home. Despite the overwhelming sense of dread that threatened to consume them, the explorers pushed forward, determined to uncover the truth behind the haunted whispers that filled the Hall of Whispers. Little did they know, the answers they sought lay in the darkest depths of the asylum's tortured past, waiting to be revealed with each step they took. As the explorers delved deeper into the bowels of the asylum, they found themselves enveloped in a suffocating darkness that seemed to swallow them whole. The air grew thick with the stench of decay, and a sense of foreboding settled over them like a heavy blanket. Suddenly, a chill wind swept through the corridor, extinguishing their flickering flashlights and plunging them into a blackness so absolute it seemed to smother the very air around them. Panic surged through their veins as they groped blindly in the darkness, their hearts pounding in their chests with a primal fear. And then, from the shadows, emerged a figure, a spectral apparition bathed in an otherworldly glow. Its eyes burned with a malevolent light, and its form seemed to shift and waver like smoke in the wind. Frozen in terror, the explorers watched helplessly as the ghostly figure drew closer, its movements slow and deliberate as it reached out with ethereal hands. A sense of dread washed over them, suffusing their minds with a primal instinct to flee, but their bodies remained rooted to the spot, paralyzed by the sheer force of its presence. With a voice like the wail of the damned, The ghostly apparition spoke, its words echoing through the darkness with a chilling finality. "You have trespassed upon sacred ground," it intoned, its voice reverberating with centuries of pain and suffering. "Now you shall suffer the consequences." And with that, the ghostly figure vanished into the shadows, leaving the explorers alone in the darkness with their fear and regret. For they had dared to disturb the restless spirits of the Ridge Home Asylum, and now they would pay the price for their folly. As the echoes of the ghostly encounter faded into the darkness, the explorers found themselves consumed by a sense of dread unlike anything they had ever known. They knew now that they had trespassed upon sacred ground, awakening the restless spirits of the Ridge Home Asylum. With trembling hands and racing hearts, they made a desperate bid to flee the accursed place, their footsteps echoing through the empty corridors as they raced toward the exit. But no matter how fast they ran, they could not escape the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following their every move with a relentless determination. And then as they reached the threshold of the abandoned asylum, a deafening silence descended upon the darkness, broken only by the sound of their ragged breaths and pounding hearts. They paused, hesitant to step out into the night, knowing that they had unleashed forces beyond their comprehension. But it was too late. With a final chilling cry, the spirits of the Ridge Home Asylum descended upon them, their anguished wails echoing through the night as they claimed their final victims. And as the darkness swallowed them whole, the asylum stood silent once more, its haunted halls a testament to the horrors that lay within. For those who dared to venture into its depths, the Ridge Home Asylum would forever remain a place of eternal torment, a haunting reminder of the darkness that lurks within the human soul, waiting to be unleashed upon the unsuspecting world.